Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, Monday Night Raw review time. It was in Saudi Arabia. Apologies if you can hear explosions in the background. It is fireworks night over here in the UK, so there may be some outside noise from me or my guest at this time. And I will actually welcome my guest right now. You may have known him. It's like The Simpsons. You may have seen this guy on other programs, such as the One Breezy channel on X or on YouTube. We'll get into all of that. Conducted some great interviews with some more to come. And potentially we're going to see him very regularly on this channel talking all things Monday Night Raw. It is Mr. Ron Breezy himself, Jordan. How are you, my friend?
As well as can be, Adam, as well as can be. You know this. Very
Indeed.
busy person.
Indeed, it is. As we said, it is fireworks night over here in the UK,
It
so
is.
lots of explosions going off outside. So if we do get any background noise, apologies in advance. Jordan, let's talk before we get into Raw. There's been a couple of bits that have happened. I did talk about it briefly on the Crown Jewel review. There was a couple of the releases that hit the news. Baron Corbin, Indy Hartwell, and there was one other, and I've totally forgotten who that other one was. Just off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Tegan Knox.
Thank you, Tegan Knox, the Welsh wizard. I don't mean that to say this sort of irrationally, but Indy Hartwell, I'm a little bit thingied about. Baron Corbin, he was doing his best work in NXT, or he had done his best work, in my opinion, in NXT. Actually filmed a bit of a commercial for WWE on
Yeah.
Netflix as well. Tegan Knox injury problems, I can understand it. But in terms of the releases, Baron Corbin was actually contract expiry, actually, not a release. Contract expired, didn't renew it. I'm not massively shocked on at least two of these. I don't know how you feel about the releases in general, though.
So the releases are. I was quite shocked. Like you mentioned, obviously Baron Corbin. I think this year he's done a hell of a lot, especially his tag team with
Mm,
Bron Breakker in NXT just before he came up after
yeah,
Mania, or just before. I think that was some of his best work, them two together, and it's just a shame that they didn't carry on with that on the main
yeah.
roster. And Tegan Knox, in when she's fit, good in the ring.
Hmm.
When she's injury prone, it's quite sad.
Yeah,
Indy Hartwell, I'm very shocked.
yeah. That was the one.
She has a lot of potential, great in the ring. The what she did with the weight and in NXT last year, she only won the NXT Championship as well before she got
Yeah,
injured.
yeah.
So that was a big moment for her. I think unbelievable performance, just all around good character. One person I did read, I don't know if it's true, but Blair Davenport is apparently contract has expired as well
Oh,
with
really? I
Darlington.
haven't read that yet. No, I don't know.
That's what I've read. I don't know how true that is, but
Mm.
that's a shock one as well.
I have to look at that one because that one's an interesting one. I haven't seen it myself, but she hasn't been used actually. She was like literally on there a couple
No,
of weeks, wasn't she? And
yeah,
then like she disappeared. How interesting. I'll have to read up on that. You could be see, look, you've come on this show 5 minutes and you've already dropped a bomb. That's
well,
literally a bombshell news after 5 minutes here. We'll have to check that, obviously, but that's an interesting one. It is a shocker as well. So interesting times. I'm not again. The releases happen all the time. Contract expiries happen. I don't. And the weird thing is, I see a lot of these names, and I don't instantly think AEW for a lot of them. I'm looking at some of these, and I'm going, it's TNA time to pick up some of
definitely.
those knockouts. I mean, the knockouts division in TNA is massively brilliant already, but you look at those names that are available, and I've got a feeling some of these could end up at TNA.
Definitely. I can see if I can't see Indy in TNA, I can
Mm,
see her doing like a little bit of circuit, probably going back to Australia because
yeah,
Australia's killing it at the moment.
yeah,
The scene over there, you know, you've got PWA who recently
yeah,
did a sold out show with Jessica Troy and Charlie Evans as the main event.
yes.
And I can see her going back to the Australian circuit, but then doing like what Steph Delander's done, you know, like got a
Mhm,
name on the independent
yeah.
scene and then maybe in a few years come back to WWE, who knows? But I can definitely see Tegan Knox, but we know her on the independent scene as Nixon Newell.
Yes.
I can definitely see that going to Nixon going to TNA.
Yeah, definitely. So Barron, we don't know either. We'll have to wait and see with Barron. I mean, I think financially he's probably sorted anyway in a lot of ways. Not that he means he doesn't want to work or anything like
Mm,
that. But yeah, interesting. Well, obviously, Indy would have to sort out her visa. as well to come back to
definitely.
the US. So that's an interesting one. But enough of the sad releases. Let's talk about some massive news. The WWE here, they're over here at the minute, over in the UK. They done a show in London last night. And prior to that, they've announced a pretty much a month-long tour of Europe. They're going to bring the WrestleMania build up to WrestleMania is coming Europe. They're going to do shows in Belgium, Scotland, France, not maybe not France, Italy. Raw and SmackDown are coming to the O2 Arena ahead of WrestleMania. I mean, obviously TKO smelling money at this case, and they're obviously going to do the right. They're obviously going to earn a lot of money out of this. This is something that really intrigues me though, because this is going to be the first time. Normally, it's after WrestleMania. They do the WrestleMania Revenge Tour or whatever you want to call it. Not only could we're going to get Raw and SmackDown in England, we could be in the presence of the final boss in one of them shows leading up because it is close to WrestleMania. I mean, did that news surprise you, shock you, and how excited are you the fact that we're going to get these massive shows before the biggest show of the year?
It shocked me, but then it didn't because WWE can pull anything they want because
Yeah,
we've been with TKO and The Rock
yeah,
and Triple H and everything. They can pull anything. Think of what they've done. I'll say within the last 2.5, 3 years.
yeah.
Think of how many countries they've gone, like doing the PLE.
Mhm.
Like they've gone Puerto Rico, they've gone France, they've gone Belgium, not Belgium,
Scotland,
Germany.
Germany,
They've gone Puerto Rico, they've gone countless Canada,
yeah, Australia.
Australia, they've gone Scotland, they've gone Wales. Do you know what I mean? They've gone
Yeah.
everywhere. So it's not shocked me, but shocked that we're getting like a month long. And you mentioned obviously the final boss because I was going to mention that, so you beat me to it. He guaranteed to turn up,
Mhm.
guaranteed, 100%. And we're recording this on the 5th of November, and I will tell you when it comes round to that it will happen.
Yeah.
I can see it happening. So you'll have even Roman Reigns. Do you know what I mean? I think it's good for the business. I think you mentioned obviously before you said all that the WWE is in the UK right now.
Yeah.
I think Europe, not just the UK, but Europe as a whole, the wrestling scene is one of the hottest in the world.
Yeah.
So I'm not really surprised that they're coming to do it. Think of how many times they actually do come over to the UK. Normally it's like April, May, then it's like October, November. They'd come
Yeah.
at least twice a year,
Yes.
sometimes three if they've got like a pay-per-view.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be an exciting time as we lead into WrestleMania, but we're not there yet. No, no, no. We're coming on to Survivor Series. Raw in Saudi Arabia. I didn't even know it was going to be recorded in Saudi
Neither did
Arabia.
I.
I was totally. They said, "Oh, I remember reading someone said, oh, Raw spoilers from Saudi Arabia," and I was like, "What? What's going on?" Obviously off the back of Crown Jewel, which was actually, I think, a lot better than what some people have mentioned, although I thoroughly enjoyed Crown Jewel, no matter what political beliefs people have about it going over there. That is what it is. Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and so on started Raw with a promo, but it went into the Women's Battle Royal to give Liv Morgan her number one, her next opponent, and potentially at Survivor Series. I don't know when this championship match is going to happen, but potentially at Survivor Series. And it was won actually by Io Sky. I was thinking more Selena Vega at this point, but there was a couple of bits about this battle royal that played off. Obviously, Io Sky wins it, and she goes on and she'll face Liv Morgan at some point, assuming Liv Morgan's going to win that because it's probably built up
Mm.
to when Rhea comes back. But there was a moment in this, Bianca and Jade kind of nearly faced off during this, or did face off during this battle royal. That for me is where they're going between them two at WrestleMania, is building up to Bianca and Jade. Is that something you can see? And do you think with Io Sky winning, it is just a placeholder until Rhea Ripley's back and back in the fold, so to speak?
Well, I think that obviously it's a shame that Rhea got injured. I
Yeah,
think they're just waiting. I think this is just like a little diversion route
yeah,
for Liv Morgan for like when she comes back. I think that Io Sky winning, I was shocked. I wanted Lyra Valkyrie.
yeah.
If
I
I'm
was
that
up
right?
or Ivy Nile for me because I really like Ivy.
Yeah, I wanted Lyra Valkyrie. I can't even pronounce her name.
Lyra
Valkyrie.
Valkyra. Something
Yeah,
like
that's it.
that.
It's like it's a little tongue twist.
It's all
I
right.
wanted her to win. I
Yeah,
think the finish was really good. The
yeah,
suplex on the apron, really good.
yeah,
And you mentioned obviously the tense moment that Jade and Bianca had. it's. I thought they were going to do it this year at WrestleMania,
Mm.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But they've held it out for a year, which WWE at the moment is really good for storytelling. Long storytelling. So I think Raquel and Liv will win the titles, cause a bit of conflict. I want to say
Yes.
in December
Hmm.
or post Survivor Series,
Hmm.
maybe Liv could pull a double duty.
Well, they've got the title shot next week. So that's an
They
interesting
do.
one. Liv and Raquel are champions next week. You make a great point, though. Maybe leave it until a bit later. They've
Yeah,
already kind of started that build for them too. And I think you're right. It will happen. Someone will beat them, and that maybe be the catalyst. Maybe one of them will eliminate the other from the Rumble. That's another thing.
I think that they're going to lose it before the Rumble,
Yep.
but get a rematch after the Rumble.
Okay.
But I think one of them they're going to have like a little showdown in the Rumble.
Yep.
Then obviously lose the rematch, and then someone's going to turn on someone.
Yeah, that worked. I'd love to see Bianca as a heel, to be honest. I thought it was going to happen with MVP. I thought the profits and it was all set really well, but obviously they didn't go forward with that. And now those three, most of those three are in AEW. MVP, Shelton, and Bobby Lashley are anyway. But
Mm.
yeah, interesting point. I agree with you. They will lose the belts. One will turn on the other. They will have that rematch as they always do. It's just a bit about if and when, which we will see.
Yeah.
Um, Another tag team that's on the it's sort of been trying to they've kind of been splitting up for a little while now. New Day. Obviously, they lost to the Viking Raiders this week. I love the Viking Raiders. I love the way they've also changed up their move sets a little bit since
Mm.
injury. I really think they're underrated. Ivar as a singles wrestler when Eric was injured blew me away a lot about
Definitely.
because you really got to see a bit more about what he can do in the ring, and that was fantastic. They beat the New Day to become number one contenders. I'm assuming they'll end up beating Judgment Day for the titles, but the New Day split for you. They're going to do a Raw special, I think, in a week or so's time to mark the 10 years of the New Day. Is this too little, too late for the New Day? And is it really going to benefit either party for them splitting up Kofi and Xavier Woods?
I think it's not going to benefit either of them. To be
Yeah,
honest, I think
I agree.
as a free, like even Big E there, I know
Hmm.
he might be soon ready to come back.
Hmm.
There's rumors. You see things float about. I reckon if they're going to do something with Big E or anything, bring him in the Rumble. Perfect
Yeah,
time as a
yeah,
surprise. In my eyes, it's not going to benefit anyone because if it's going to benefit either one of them, it's going to be Kofi Kingston.
yeah.
With all due to respect to Xavier Woods, is a great performer and everything, but he's not got the wow compared to what Kofi Kingston has. I
Mm,
think it is too late. 10 years together is a long time as a group, especially in WWE.
yeah.
The fact that they've lasted this long is quite surprising. But I think time will tell. Next week, Big E, I reckon, will be there because you can't have a 10 year without Big E
Yeah.
being there. So it'll be fun to see how that plays out. What the tension that they're having, especially with Big E being there.
Yeah, it will be great to see. I'll be interested. I agree with you though. I don't think it benefit. I think I said this. I've been saying this for weeks. I don't see what if they should have done this years ago if they were going to do it. I know there was rumors a few years ago they were looking at
Mm.
doing it. I just think they might as well just stay together and just do whatever. I mean, Big E went away and they still had success when Big E was champion, and then obviously the injury that he got. This benefits nobody, like you say, and I agree with you. I think Kofi Kingston would be the only one that really can do anything. It's nothing against Xavier Woods; he's a great, great wrestler, but it's just I don't. What I next see, and we've just talked about it already about the releases and that, and I could probably see that happening to maybe Xavier Woods later down the line.
Mm.
Not straight away, unfortunately, but we'll see. As we say, we'll see what happens. The New Day special New Day thing, maybe next week. I can't quite remember if it's next week or the week after, but it will be happening in November, a special Raw with the New Day. We're seeming to be there seeming to be the frequent of this is a lot of things happening or a lot of friends not liking each other, which is
Mm.
quite nice because we're going to go straight into Sami Zayn and the Usos right now. So Crown Jewel, Sami Zayn come out, stop Jay from getting attacked, hit Solo with an exploder. Him and Roman Reigns went for a move on Solo. Solo moved out of the way. Sami Zayn gave Roman the haluva kick. What's interesting about this time is that last time when the bloodline was together and Sammy was in it, Jey Uso didn't want Sammy in it, but Jimmy did. This time it's a role reversal. I will say this though, what caught me out at Crown Jewel, and I did make a point in saying it on the review. Sami Zayn come across like he was a heel when he come out because he come out, he had that little bandana on, he was in all black, and I was like, oh my god, he's going to join Solo. How long do you think it's going to be before Sami Zayn maybe comes into this team, or do they pull a swerve and put him with Solo, perhaps to him to turn on Solo during War Games?
The only time Sammy will join Solo, I reckon, if the thing what is rumored to be happening with Jacob at the moment
Yeah,
happens. Like, so it's like 1-on-1, and that's
yeah,
the only time I'll see Sammy joining Solo. I think him speaking to Solo last week was like a distraction.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It was just like two dudes in a building talking. I think, how long do I see him till he's joining? Well, Survivor Series is November 30th.
yeah,
So if it's not this Friday, it's next Friday. Definitely within the next 2 weeks.
yeah,
I think I'm just gonna two words to sum up the Raw segment this week. Really perfect.
yes.
I think just, and it comes back to what we were saying, storytelling. If
Mm,
you, like 2 years ago, you mentioned JD wants Sammy in,
yeah,
and then Jamie brought him in, and
yeah.
then they said that on Raw,
Hmm.
and the fact that at the end Jay said that he's family, and then Jimmy's reaction was like, do you know, like that. So the
Hmm.
fact, I felt the whole segment was gave you enough to want to go and watch SmackDown.
Yeah, yeah, exactly that. You watch it just for that alone because you know he's going to be there, and they've already said about if Sammy shows up, it's going to get really heated, and you just want it to happen. We want that. We want that confrontation between Roman and Sammy. That's what we're looking for here, and we're going to get it, like you say, probably this week. Maybe next week, as you say, there's a couple of weeks until, but they normally do the advantage match, don't they?
Yeah.
For War Games Advantage, and I just wonder whether in there Sammy might cost Roman, Jimmy, and Jay the advantage going into War Games again
Could happen.
inadvertently. Costing it. We'll see. Hopefully, there's a lot to go. I did want to take a quick skip about the Wyatt Six stuff. So they done a promo during Raw where Miz was captured. You heard all of the video. I love the fact they went back to when he was with the Miz and Joe Henning, Curtis Axel. I love that. It told a great story about it when we kept on about how good the storytelling has been, and that going back there, and they basically said they didn't care about Karrion Kross and the Final Testament. They wanted the Miz. How have you seen the Wyatt Six stuff? I mean, there's a lot. I've seen some positives and negatives. I wasn't sure whether the whole reveal was going to be the best part of it, and I'm still not massively convinced in it. I think a lot of people said mid card is where they see it, and that's pretty much where they've been.
Mhm.
Do you see it going further and one of them breaking out to be a top star, or do you see it basically where they are now?
To be honest, I don't think we're seeing it enough
Mm.
to
Yeah,
get really behind and invested in them.
yeah,
I think the storytelling, like you mentioned, is there,
yeah,
and the whole story is there.
mm.
But pretty much we'll look at Chad Gable that there was.
Yeah,
There's a reason behind it. The Uncle
yeah,
Howdy character, he's going after certain people for certain reasons.
yeah,
It's good, but once you've seen it once, you've seen it.
mm.
You know what I mean? I think unless we see more of them, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they came back this week. I don't know how long have they been gone.
Couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah,
They thingied the Miz, didn't they? They had their match with, forgive me, I can't remember who they targeted first. Now, Chad Gable, American made.
mm,
They had their match. They disappeared for a while. They saw a lot of cryptic stuff. It was last week when they physically captured the Miz, didn't they? They done it the week
yeah,
before, so it's been about 4 weeks, wasn't it, in between that
yeah.
time?
So I think a group like that, which they are good, don't not get me wrong, each person in that group
Yeah.
is there for a reason.
Hmm.
I think a group like that, they need to be featured every week, not just a video package.
Mm. Yeah. Agreed. How long do you think until we see Alexa, and does she need to go? Do you think they need the star power of Alexa Bliss in that group to maybe take it that step higher?
I think, yeah, I do. Because one of Bray's final moments and stuff, before he came back the first time,
Hmm.
was with Alexa Bliss. His
Yeah.
last final few months was with Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
And I think adding Alexa Bliss in gives it that much more Bray Wyatt feel.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think if it's going to be soon, it's going to be from now till the Rumble. I can see it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Possibly.
that'll be perfect
Yeah.
time because if you are going to insert Alexa Bliss in, you can then build a momentum on something all the way up until WrestleMania.
You can. You can. It'll be interesting. She's due back. Well, I know she's training. She's been training for a while. Obviously, had the baby, and now she's getting ready to come back. I'm really looking forward to see Alexa come back in as well. I think she's been missed. She's been a big part of that women's brand for so long, and she's been away for so long. To be fair, as well,
Definitely.
a lot has changed. There's a lot new people for Alexa to feud with as well,
Mm,
which is going to be interesting. We mentioned a little bit about American Made in there, and Chad Gable being one of those guys, and he took on Dragon Lee. I'm a little bit thinking about this because I think they fumbled Dragon Lee big time, and I get
100%.
it. Yeah, I get it right now that he got the win over Chad Gable. I for me, and again, I think Chad Gable is probably one of the best wrestlers on the Raw, but one of the best wrestlers they've got, pure athlete wrestler that the WWE
Mhm.
has. For him to carry on losing, and I know he had that big thing with Gunther and he didn't quite win in the Continental Championship, rightly or wrongly. It is still everybody's up to everyone's interpretation. I don't. Well, I think the biggest mistake perhaps Chad Gable done was re-sign with the WWE. I really think he should have said, you know what, I'm going to go elsewhere and see if the grass is greener. And I'm not necessarily saying AEW at this point, New Japan. You see careers now like Zack Sabre Jr. and people that are saying that, I'm going to stay over here because I want to make a career over in New Japan and be this top star. For me, Chad Gable's biggest mistake is staying with the WWE.
I think for him to have stayed with WWE, WWE should have not just offered him more money, but should have offered him the IC title.
Yes.
I think he should have won it instead of Sami Zayn. He needed it more than Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn's underdog story is great, don't get me wrong, but he didn't need it.
No.
But I think what I loved about Gable on Raw was the Kurt Angle inspired gear.
Yes.
That was good. And the way he moves in the ring, he's like a young Kurt Angle. I
Yes.
think he's like the modern day Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
The match itself was good, I thought.
It
I
was.
thought the ending was just rubbish. I think that WWE has got one of the best luchadors of all time currently. I mean, there's loads out there, but I mean, Dragon Lee, like you've just said, is unbelievable. They have fumbled him at the moment.
Hmm.
I hope he gets better. That man get better when Ray's gone. Who
Hmm.
knows?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see with that, but yeah, they need to do something with Gable for sure. Main event on Raw, the Fatal Four Way to determine Gunther's next opponent. I'm a bit confused by this. I will have to admit. By the way, Bronson, for example, Bronson Reed basically kills everybody in this. Everyone, and I love that because I've loved Bronson Reed for so long, not physically, but in terms of WWE, thinking he's been one of the best. He was over. I thought it was a bad mistake them releasing him in the first place. He's come back. The Seth Rollins thing has just turned him into this monster. So he did kill everybody at one point during this. What confused me about this one was Damian Priest won the match, which is fine. But last week, Dominic beat Damian Priest in a match where Adam Pearce has said if he had won the match, he potentially gets a future title shot. So the
Yeah,
confusing
that's
part of the
just me.
story is here. If Dominic Mysterio beat Damian Priest, why are we actually having a number one contenders match anyway? Because you virtually said it last week. Two, Damian Priest won it. So surely, if anything, it's Damian and Dominic again for the right to face Gunther next. And more importantly than that, everyone just needs to get behind Bronson Reed.
100%. Do you know what? I saw that. I was like, it's good that Dom won last week
Mhm.
because I think Dom as a single star does have that potential
Yeah.
because he's got heat. Do you know what I mean? That's what wrestlers want these days, heat.
Yes.
He can't if you've seen his interview with Chris Van Vliet, he can't even open his mouth without getting booed. No, do
No.
you know what I mean? He has that heat, what people want. Great match. Don't get me wrong. I loved it when
Yeah.
in the match. I loved it when Sheamus was doing his like knocking of Dominic, and Damien was like just the proud father watching along. Yeah, go on, do it. Do you know what I mean? I love that bit. I like Damien Priest's entrance.
He's got the
His
music,
new,
isn't he?
yeah, I love it. I think he's more of a, I'm not saying Undertaker, but he's got that like Undertaker little vibe. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? With the music, and it's all dark when he comes out. I like that.
Yeah.
Bronson Reed overlooked for years. You know what I mean? His first NXT run, I liked it, but you know he didn't have the character what he is now, like monster.
Yeah.
I thought what he did with Braun Strowman, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think he should have won a crown jewel. I really
Yeah.
do.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with that.
I like it at the end though when he got stood up and just covered in blood coming down. That
Yeah.
was like a monster look.
Yeah.
Great, but he needed the win more than anyone.
Yeah. He
And
did.
I
He did.
was quite shocked with the ending. Do you know what I mean? Not
Mm.
that Damien Priest won, but like you've just said, where last week Dominic won. Why have a fatal four way? Why not have Bronson Reed in there? Why have Sheamus in there? Why have Seth Rollins in there?
Yeah.
It's certain people that, i.e., instead of having all them four, you could have had Damien as a former world champion. You could have had Bronson Reed. You could have had Chad Gable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You could have had like four other people. You could have had, if you wanted to do it like that, you could have had two fatal four ways. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because that Raw has a lot of talent.
Yeah.
So you could have had two fatal four ways. Have Dom in one, Damien in another, both win, bang, done. Next week, this, lead it into something else. But now with the whole place, it's just confused with who's actually the number one contender. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It is. No, you're absolutely right. I was just like, I don't get it. I didn't get it. But it is what it is. Damian Priest seems to be the number one contender as it stands. When will that match be Gunther? I don't know. Maybe Survivor Series, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. One question quickly, Jordan, before we start wrapping up and stuff. This was like the fourth week now of Raw being 2 hours. How are you finding the move back to 2 hours? Only temporarily, we know, until they go Netflix in
Mm.
January. How are you finding it? Are you finding it more better? Are you finding it more watchable? Is it better? Does it feel like it's maybe more rushed than it normally is? How are you feeling it on the 2 hours?
So there's good and there's good and points of it. Because 3 hours, it's like watching what's that film? No, the Green Mile. Is that way?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like watching that. You can't. I sh I when I go to the cinema, it's 2 hours film or 1 minute, 1 hour 45. Do you know what I mean?
mhm,
2 hours, sometimes can be great. 3 hours if needed, and the storylines are good, and you've got good quality content.
yeah,
It can be good,
yeah,
but it just proves. Well, they did 2 hours back in the early years, didn't they?
yeah.
So it there's pros and cons to it. Sometimes it feels rushed. Sometimes it feels just right.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same. I feel as if a couple of weeks it has been too promo heavy for a 2 hour show. I think SmackDown has had that a lot with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. They used to start and finish, and they used to be like 20 odd minutes, and you didn't have a lot to cram. You had too much to cram in during that
Yeah,
middle period. I still Raw. I thought this week was a bit more balanced. I did like 5 matches was nice. It had a good sort of
yeah,
spread of everything going, which was actually I felt yeah, I felt this was the better kind of Raw from start to finish, no rush bits than they've done since it's come back to 2 hours. And we know, as
yeah,
we say, we know it's temporarily, but we've got a lot of stuff kicking off next week again. We'll be closer to Survivor Series. We'll have another idea of where they're going with the Sami Zayn stuff. It should be an interesting Raw next week. But as of course, it is the first week of our partnership together on this channel. I know that you've got some interviews lined up that you can talk about. And why don't
mm.
you tell everybody where your channel is, can they subscribe, and who you've had on and who you've got coming up?
Who have I had? So we'll start off where my channel is. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's where I solely record and post. I don't do the Spotify. I don't do any of that. So straight up YouTube. like Adam named it in the beginning of the episode, One Breezy. That's
Yeah.
WOMBREEZY. And some of the guests that I've had on, I was very fortunate to have had Jacob Fatu on early in the year. I've had Zilla Fatu on.
Yeah.
I've had Lizzie Evo. I've had Vince Russo, which is I know you've had numerous
Yeah.
times. Great guy, I love it. He says it how it is. Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't fault the guy.
No.
I've had Dijak recently. I've had
Yeah.
a lot of ring announcers. I've had Wheezy Blonde, Mr.
Yeah.
Tesh. I've had just so many. And my first returning guest, the second guest that I am having after we finish this, is Tiffany Neves, who is
Le,
from
Le
NWA.
Princessa.
Yeah,
Oh,
she is, yeah, firecracker. I like her. Very
yes.
talented in the ring.
She
And
is. I
then
watch her on NWA. Brilliant.
she's amazing.
She is. And she's also in line. I think she's got, or she's having a, well, she had a title match recently at Crossfire Wrestling with Kenzie Page. I don't, I think she came up a bit
Mm,
short in that. But she's also, I think, wrestling her tonight on NWA. And I should know this because me and Fiona are going to be recording our NWA review tomorrow. Yes,
tag team
she's teaming
match.
up. Yes, she is on
Uh,
NWA. Hollywood
mm,
Lady Jade. She's a tag
yep.
team tonight on NWA against the Page sisters. I'm looking forward to seeing that. But yes, head over to One Breezy's channel. Some of the interviews are great. Jacob Fatu, Zilla, Russo, as you said, Wheezy Blonde, one of the best streamers in America, has been on the channel. And you see, like you say, Tiffany Nieves coming on for part two. And I always think it's a compliment when they return. So you obviously doing something
I
right.
do, yeah.
So there you go. You're doing something right if you're getting people on more than once, that's for sure. Coming up on our channel, I can give you a few bits and pieces. So this will be Raw review next week will just be me. Unfortunately for you guys at home, you don't get to see Jordan next week. That's just due to the fact that I'm on holiday. I'm going on my travel. So next week is going to be a lot more interview based. So next week on the channel, you will have the Ignite. No, you won't have the Ignite curtain call. You'll have that the following week, the week that I'm due back. You'll have the Ignite curtain call preview with myself and the Ignite GM CJ Carter. You will have myself and English and Japanese star Gideon Gray will be dropping when I'm away. So I'm talking to him actually recording this week. He'll be dropping next week. So we're going to have a conversation about Japanese wrestling, about some English wrestling. So that should all be fun. I'm hoping to be able to drop the interview with PJ Black, the former Justin Gabriel. I'm hoping to be able to drop that while I'm on holiday. Fingers crossed for that one as well. All being well, that will be dropping as well as the Ignite stuff, as well as the stuff with Gideon Gray. There's a couple of bits that I can't talk about at the moment because obviously we're not there yet with stuff. I spoke to you about one of them off air that we can't talk about just yet, but it could be extremely, no pun intended, fun with one of them if we do manage to get them on. But big thanks, obviously, to Eric Bischoff. It was on a couple of weeks ago. Vince Russo, like you said, we've had him on. Just need to shout out TNA as well. Big thank you for the guys and girls that you've given us so far. We know we're going to get some more soon. We can't wait to that. So big thanks to TNA for that. So we've got like a bit of a partnership like the WWE have with
Mm.
TNA. We get there some great roster members. So big thanks to that. Big, and I know with WWE, but I have to shout out AEW. Big thanks to everyone at AEW for Mikey Ruckus a couple of weeks ago. That was such an enlightening interview about how the music of wrestling gets set up and how it all comes about. That was a very, very good one. Lastly, before I let Jordan go and interview Tiffany Nieves, big shout out to the guys at Ringside Renaissance podcast over in the States. Go check them out, guys. Make sure you do. Coming up this week on the channel, NWA review of myself and Fiona tomorrow, obviously followed by TNA on Friday. Keep it locked. HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram at One Breezy on X, by the way, as well. If you want to reach out to Jordan on X, please do so. But Jordan, I've enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it in 2 weeks' time, do you want to come back and do this again?
Adam, do you know what? When you first reached out to me, do you know, to do this, I was like, why me? But then I was like, do you know what? Why wouldn't it not be me? Thank
Exactly.
you. I've enjoyed this, and I always enjoy speaking to you. Do you know what I mean? You're a great guy, great content, great interviews. Like you mentioned, the work that you do with TNA is awesome. you keep smashing and you're doing good, man. Especially this year that you've had Bischoff, Russo, you've had amazing people this year. I take my hat off to you. I've said it to you many a times that you're an inspiration. Just keep up the good work. The
Thank
answer to
you.
your question, I know I diverted there. Yes, I definitely do want to come back. I
Well, you
love.
are more than welcome back when I get back off holiday. We'll do the Raw one together again. Until then, everybody, like I said, keep it locked on both channels. Buckle down, stay safe, enjoy the fireworks in the UK, and goodbye.